Hello viewers, welcome back to another video of Simpalm. Today we will be talking about how to prepare a scope of work for your mobile app development project. This video will help you understand what prerequisites associated with your mobile app project must be highlighted or explained in a baseline document. A scope of work will not just help your internal teams be clear about the expectations you have for your mobile app, but will also assist the external vendors or developers to take on your project while adhering to your requirements. What is the scope of work for a mobile app? Before we dive deeper into the key attributes of how you can write a scope of work for your mobile app development project, it is important that you understand what it is and why it is important for you to have one. A scope of work for a mobile app acts as a baseline document or blueprint, highlighting the idea, concept, purpose, method of approach, and other such details of your development project. Beyond that, a scope of work is also responsible for ensuring alignment of your expectations with those of the project deliverables. Such a document must be created by you or your team if you seek a mobile application to be built on an idea. It will continue to be improved over time throughout the stages of development, depending on new discoveries, requirements, or expectations. Some things that a scope of work for a mobile app can help you with are aligning your team as well as the external developers for the project, preventing scope creep or miscommunication, estimating the accurate time and cost of development. Next up, let's discuss the important sections that must be covered in your scope of work for mobile app development and how you can write them. Project overview. In this section of your scope of work, you must include a high-level and brief summary of what your mobile app is supposed to be and what its primary goal is. Firstly, you need to identify your target audience and determine the pain points they are facing with respect to your business niche. Next, you must specify the proposed ways your mobile app can solve those problems. Moving forward, the overview must also highlight the diverse stakeholders who will be part of your mobile app project, including product owners, investors, managers, and sponsors. Finally, wrap up this section with a brief elaboration of the business model on which the app will run. For instance, you can specify your monetization strategy, revenue targets, and more. Technical requirements. It is probably the most important section of your scope of work, as it will define the details for developers to build your mobile application. Moreover, it is the section that will help a vendor give you a cost estimation for your app development project. While writing this section, you need to first list out all the components that you think will be necessary for crafting your mobile app. In simple words, you must decide. Will your mobile app run on Android, iOS, or both? Will it need a web admin and backend server? Would you like to spend heftily on custom UI/UX design? List out all other components that come to your mind and move on to the next step of this section, that is, listing the users. You must then specify all the potential users of your mobile app. For instance, if you want to make your app available for both users as well as appointed admins, you will need 2 different versions of it. Similarly, if you want multiple users to access your app, this is the part where you must define them. Moving on, specify all the important and high-level features you will need for your mobile app. To make your scope of work more specific, it's better if you describe every major feature you want in the app. It will give developers clarity on what your expectations are. Finally, end this section with a brief elaboration on the type of development cycle you seek for your mobile app, with options being Agile, DevOps, Waterfall, and others. Talk to the experts to get a better understanding of all available options. Milestones and timelines. In this section of your scope of work, you must break down your project into different phases and create timelines for each of those milestones. For instance, you can dedicate 1 week for discovery and wireframing, next 2 weeks for UI design, a couple of months for front-end and back-end development, 2 weeks for QA and testing, and 1 week for launch and initial support. You can change the timelines based on the complexity of your app and the associated expectations. In addition to that, we recommend that you have a buffer of around 20% in the timelines, which will help you accommodate any iterations in the original development plan. Defining responsibilities. A lot of people will be involved in bringing your mobile app project to life. From your internal team members who are preparing this scope of work for you to the development team you hire for the project, everyone must be aware of their responsibilities right from the start. Prepare a table with all the involved parties on one column and define their specific roles in the next column. For instance, the responsibility of your development team will be to design, develop, test, and launch your mobile app. You cannot just assume that people know their responsibilities. It is better to spell it out in brief through this scope of work. Specifying assumptions. It is quite obvious that you might have made certain assumptions or decisions associated with your mobile app development project prior to creating this scope of work. In order to make a proficient and well-versed approach towards building your mobile app, experts might have to revisit any dependencies, decisions, or assumptions been made for it. Your assumptions can be on cost, revenue generation, technical submission, or other such factors. However, it is important that you mention all of it in the scope of work for the mobile app. This way, it will be easier for all the vendors or stakeholders to study the assumptions and help validate them in pursuit of building the best mobile app. Budget and payment terms. This section might be coming a little later in your scope of work for mobile app development, but it is a very important part. You must simply mention the budget you have for the app development project and the payment terms you want to stick to for it. For example, you can mention your budget for the project to be $20,000 and the payment terms to be like 30% advance, 40% after completion of certain milestones, and 30% on deployment. Metrics for defining success. In the end, you need to give certain parameters to the developers to ensure the app they built aligns with your expectations. For that, you need to highlight the success metrics with specific KPIs. This success checklist can consist of metrics like deployment of all the major features as specified, followed by thorough testing on Android and iOS platforms. No critical bugs must persist in user acceptance testing. App must be approved by Google's Play Store, Apple's App Store, or both. Beta testing must result in more than 90% of positive feedback. You are now well-versed in how to write all the important sections in a scope of work for mobile apps. So, in order to get started with creating one, you can use tools like Google Docs, Notebook LLM, Notion, Microsoft Word, Confluence, and more. Every tool has its own features for you to format, map, and illustrate the scope of work. So, you can either hand out the job to an expert in your team or outsource the requirement, depending on your feasibility. With this, we have now come to the end of this video. We hope you are now more confident about clearly defining your requirements and expectations associated with the mobile app development project. Remember, a scope of work is not just a simple document, but is a roadmap that will pave the path for a successful project execution and product deployment. Thanks for watching this video. Please don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to our channel for more such content.